Hi, Paul from Power Wash Store here. We're going to show you how to install the Pro Switch on your booster pump. We're going to set up this one here is set up to retroactively fit a existing pump that would have a bypass kit on it. If you wanted to set it up on a brand new pump, you could order the Pro Switch with the plumbing if you wanted to do it yourself, or you could have us do it for you when you order it in. What you get is when you order the Pro Switch, you're going to get a Pro Switch with the hose attached to it. You're going to have the electrical wires that come with it as well, which you can shorten to fit. You get a fitting that is a garden hose fitting that goes on to the existing pump or into the T, and you can see on here we have a garden hose fitting on one side and 3/4 pipe thread on the other. And you also get a check valve that is used to prevent backflow that allows the Pro Switch to turn on and off, in addition to the check valves that are already installed in the proportioner that would be on the system. You can see by looking at this, you have a spring on one side, you have no spring on the other side. You can also see, if you look on the side here, there's going to be an arrow that shows the direction of flow, so that the water, when it comes in, is going to flow through, push the plunger forward against the spring tension and allow the water to flow. When you let off and the water stops flowing, the spring will come back, create a check valve situation, allow pressure to build into the pump, and allow the Pro Switch to turn the motor on and off. On an existing unit like this one, you would have a bypass hose in this area here. What you're going to do is remove that bypass hose. You're going to come through then and you're going to remove your regulator off the system. You're going to remove the valve from the top of the system. You're going to remove the 3/4 inch nipple off the T, and you're going to remove the T itself and set that aside. You're going to take your existing 3-way ball valve, you're going to screw it back into the reducing bushing here on the top, back how it was. You're going to remove the outlet, the inlet here from the garden hose feed off the side of the valve. You're going to install your 3/4 inch nipple on here. You're going to install your check valve, again making sure the direction of flow, the arrow will be pointing towards the valve so that when the water comes in, it can flow into the pump properly. You'll install that on there, and then you'll reinstall your barb into the other side of the check valve. Now, when doing these fittings, what you want to do is make sure that you don't use too much Teflon tape. If you use more than 4 wraps, what will end up happening is you will actually make the fitting itself larger, and when you tighten it in, you run the risk of cracking or breaking the valves or any of the plastic fittings. So we recommend no more than 4 wraps of Teflon tape, plus the addition of like True Blue or the 21 Rector Seal that we use, some sort of a liquid Teflon type thread sealant, pipe sealant. We're going to take our garden hose fitting and we're going to screw it into the outlet of the T here. Same way again, Teflon taping and sealing all that up. We're going to tighten that down approximately not quite half of a turn, so it points down just a little bit. I like to make it point down. It kind of makes the hose sit a little better. We're going to connect our garden hose fitting on there from the Pro Switch, which I can get eventually here. There we go. It'll work better if I pull it out. Come on, there we go. So we got the garden hose on there. We're going to get that on there nice and tight, and we have that set up that way just if for some reason there's ever a failure or something, you have the ability to remove it and cap it off and continue to use the pump. So we're going to tighten that up, and we may have to take our outlet here and either loosen it or tighten it up. If we have to loosen it, we want to take it all the way off, retape it, and add the thread sealant on there to make sure that it seals up properly to get our angle correct. We've already mounted our Pro Switch on here. You're going to see coming off of the Pro Switch, there's going to be 2 wires on one side. This is activated by the pressure, and you can actually see if I push down on the thing, when the pressure of the pump goes, what it does is it moves this up and down, and it makes contact or no contact. We have 2 sides here. This is actually set up for 240 or 120, the switch. We have one leg that's doing 120. If we use both legs, that would be 240. So we have our power coming in and our power going out back over here. We have our existing plug with our ground fault on here. This pump itself is wired up for 120. You can see we have our neutral coming off our ground fault plug. That goes to our pump. We have the 2 wires connected together that are used to set it up for 120. We have power coming out of our switch box into our switch, and then leading back into our pump to feed our pump with power. If you have the control wizard on here currently, what you're going to see is another set of wires connected to these 2 connections, and what you'll do is you'll cut the control wizard off of that. You will no longer need those. If you have to, what you can do is actually just take the clippers, trim the wires back, and just reconnect the a new end to the one set of the wires. You can kind of see how I just have that one in there like that. So we would cut the end off with and then trim it back. So the way that this pump is going to work is you're going to see we have 3 wires coming out here. We have our ground wire that comes from the Pro Switch, and we've grounded it to the pump motor itself just to make sure that it's an additional protection device. You always want to make sure everything's grounded and bonded. We have our power that will be coming in, and we have power. These are the 2 switch legs going up to the Pro Switch. So what we're going to do is on the outlet side of the switch, the part that runs to the motor, we're actually going to remove the connection, cut it, strip it back, and then we're going to take that, and that's going to connect to our motor. So, so we're going to take one of the 2 wires coming out of our Pro Switch, and it doesn't matter which one. In this case, I'm just using blue because, you know, that's what I wired it up with. You may have a black and a white wire and a green wire. If we use a section of extension cord or something, which we usually use because it's insulated and simple to use, it doesn't matter which way you hook it up. It's just got to go that way. So we're going to have our power running into our switch from our ground fault. We're going to take the power from the pump and connect it to one of the 2 legs from the Pro Switch, and just put a wire nut on there. And then we're going to take the other leg and we're going to connect it to the switch. So what this is going to allow us to do is power's coming in, going to the neutral, coming into the switch. We can turn the switch on and off. When we turn it on, it's going to provide power up to the Pro Switch. When the pump is calling for power like it is right now because it's not under load, the contactors will be made. It'll complete the circuit through, run back down, through, in this case through the blue wire, back to the motor, and turn the motor on. When you let off the trigger, what will happen over time, there's a diaphragm inside here. As the pressure builds up in the line, it'll take that and actually push these springs up, and it'll remove the contactors from and break the contact seal on the motor itself. So when it works, it'll work something like this. Now it should probably turn on right away when I do this because it's I think the switch is in the on position. I'm just going to reset the breaker. So you can see it's on and off with the switch. So if I have it running and it's turning on, when it builds pressure, what will happen is this will actually, the spring pressure or the pressure in the diaphragm will lift up and actually remove the contactor. So as it builds pressure, that's how the Pro Switch itself. Now you may have to adjust your in and your out pressure on here, and we'll do another video on adjusting the pressure later with when it's all set up and plumbed, so you can actually see how that's done. I can't do it without it being under a load or having water in because it just doesn't work. So again, you want to make sure that you have, I'm going to turn this off, unplug it so I don't get electrocuted. You want to make sure that you have good connections, all tight with the liquid Teflon and no more than 4 wraps. You want to make sure that you're switching it after the switch, so power's coming into your switch, out to the Pro Switch, and then back to your motor. Make sure you still have your ground fault on there, and make sure that you certainly have your check valve installed on both sides of your inlet, from your proportioner, which are already in it, and on your direct feed from your garden hose. Now, we recommend that you don't do your own wiring unless you're a licensed electrician. We don't want anybody getting injured or hurt, but this is an informational video so you can see how this is wired, so if you have to troubleshoot it or if you see a problem, it's something for you to look at. So this is how you wire up and set up a Pro Switch on the booster pump from PowerWashStore.com, 855-351-9274.